What's up, guys? It's Michael Key, your host of Real Conservative Talk, and it's been a few days, but we're back. What's up, Zach?
What's going on, everybody?
So, Zach, have you seen what the Biden administration is doing with these illegal immigrants?
I have, actually. I noticed that Biden wants to give them money because they came into the country illegally, and I guess they got their feelings hurt because they came into the country illegally. And,
well, let me stop you there. So, not so much their feelings hurt, but what happened was Trump had a zero tolerance policy.
As should everybody.
Yes. And you remember when Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez went down to the border and saw these children in these
the cages,
whatever she said, right?
Yep.
Which I don't even think she really went inside, but she's outside crying in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Which she hasn't done now. Like, she didn't go down to that bridge where it was an absolute mess.
Where it was like a small town.
Yeah, with trash and everything. And they're sleeping in like makeshift tents.
Yep.
So these parents that got separated from their children, okay, these are the people that are supposedly having these lawsuits, and that they're going to settle with for $450,000. But it's not just $450,000 per family; it's $450,000 per person. In fact, I read a source last night that said some families could receive up to maybe $1.5 million.
Yep.
Do you know how much you get if you are a service member and you're killed in action? Do you know how much your family gets?
I heard that, and I think, isn't it like $400,000?
No, it's $100,000.
$100,000.
$100,000 tax free, which is still less than what, even if they taxed the $450,000, than what they would get. Some of the 9/11 families got far less than $450,000.
That's good.
So why? All right. When it comes to the illegal immigration, why is illegal immigration bad? Well, let's
look at the first word.
Well, it's illegal. But why? Why is it illegal? Why don't we just let people come in?
I don't really know how to answer that other than they are born in their own country and they have their country to reside in.
Do you mind if I give them a little bit of a background on your family?
Sure, go ahead.
So Zach's father is Colombian and was born in Colombia, right?
Correct.
Came here, did it the right way.
Correct.
Still has family in Colombia.
Correct.
Do you have any other members that came here?
So it was him, my Huita and my Huito, which was my grandmother, my grandfather. They were the only ones who came. Okay. The rest of my family stayed there.
Yeah. And this is when Colombia, like, we're talking about, when did they come?
You're talking beginning of the 60s.
Beginning of the 60s. So, they did it the right way. And I believe Zach is not the only one in his family that thinks that illegal immigration is not a good thing.
No, my dad is 100% against illegal immigration.
And his dad goes back to Colombia still to this day. You know, takes pride. I mean, he's Colombian. He this isn't someone that just wanted to get away from Colombia because he hated Colombia. Is he was looking for a better life. Assuming so. So one reason why you don't is the United States is always at a massive threat of terrorist. And while most of these people may be good people and honest people, there are a few that are bad, as we've seen in the news lately, committing rape, murder. We've also been subject to the worst terrorist attack in my lifetime, or in the whole world, and probably 90% of the whole world's lifetime. Okay? And we can't just let anyone in without vetting them. Two, the one I cannot get past, because we're going through a pandemic right now. What if some of these people are from a country that has a disease that we don't know of here, and they're bringing diseases? What if we were like in Africa and they had an Ebola outbreak, which we don't have here, right? And we started letting everyone in.
Well, and you know what's funny is that
they're not even testing these people for COVID.
Right. All these people don't have to, when we traveled to Mexico for our honeymoon, we had to get tested before we left. We had to get tested on our way back. And it had to be within 3 days of our flight.
So let me backtrack here a little bit. Zach, do you know what the average net worth of an American is?
I do not.
It's $127,000.
Oh, wow.
So Biden is going to make illegal immigrants that broke the law 4 times richer than the average American for breaking the fucking law. Now, when you break the law, if you're riding around in a car with your kid and you get caught stealing something or breaking into a house,
yep,
and you go to jail, what do you think they do with your kid, Zach?
They take your kid from you because your kid can't go with you.
Yeah. Your kid's not the one choosing to break the fucking law.
Right.
The kid, if the kid doesn't know better,
right?
Okay, you're the one forcing the kid to come across.
Correct.
They're taking your ass to jail because it's illegal. You know what though? I honestly, and people may take this the wrong way, I don't have a problem with it. You know why? Because it's going to show people like, oh, maybe I don't want to do this. Maybe I don't want to take a chance of losing my kid.
Right.
It's against the law. Australia sends you to an island, a camp on an island, and one way ticket back to your country. And if you've been making income in Australia, I believe you have to pay that income back.
Really?
Yeah, they fine you and everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah, don't get caught twice.
Heck no.
So, you know, we can say what we want about Australia, but they're very, very strict on illegal immigration.
Yeah.
Here, people are coming over illegally. The other thing, and this is one that, you know, South Park has made fun of, but it actually is true. You're not allowed to hire illegal workers. But there are some industries that have construction, agriculture, right? Why? Because of lower wages.
Right. You can pay them a whole lot.
Exactly. Because they're willing to work for whatever. The other thing is they're not paying taxes on it.
Right.
One way the government tried to get around that was issuing IDs, like worker IDs. But when you grant someone they give them like basically a tax identification number. It's not a social security number. It's a tax identification number. But that doesn't give them the right to work. You still have to have a work visa. Mm-hmm. These people aren't getting work visas. All right. But a lot of them aren't even getting that tax ID number. But they can work for basically slave wages.
Yeah. And
if they're doing that, and I'm a business owner, I'm hiring cheap labor, the American has to make at least minimum wage.
Right.
I'm taking a job away from the American. That is true. That is how it works. Yep. No matter what the Democrats want to say.
Yep.
You're taking opportunities, and now you're taking over $1 billion in settlements potentially. What could you do with that $1 billion?
A lot more useful things.
A lot more useful things. One thing, Zach, and we're going to go into this because I'm not even going to go too much. Honestly, it's fucking bullshit that we are giving $450,000 to anyone for breaking the law. How many people are in jail right now for trespassing or breaking an entry? And they're in jail, had to pay a fine to the government, and lost their kid.
Yep. For me, it's the fact that I think in my mind, I think the reason that he's trying to do it is because
vote.
Because those people will be able to vote.
But you know what's funny? You know who they weren't letting in, Zach? Cubans and Haitians that were coming from Cuba and Haiti to try and cross the border in Mexico.
Really?
Yeah. You know why? Do you know how much of the vote Trump won of Cubans in Miami?
Actually, I'm pretty sure he won almost the whole thing, didn't he?
Uh-huh. You know why?
Because they liked him.
Because Cuba is a communist country, and they have been under a communist dictatorship for a while. Mm-hmm. And they don't want that shit.
I don't want it.
Masvidal, the UFC fighter, loves Trump.
Really?
Loves Trump. And he's Cuban from Miami. Mm-hmm. You would never think so, but campaigned for him and everything, and got a lot of that Cuban vote. Trump almost won Miami-Dade County, which no Republican has ever even come close to winning.
Really?
Yeah. He almost won Miami-Dade County because of the Cuban and Hispanic vote down there.
That's wild.
So it could end up working against them maybe if they're coming from the wrong country. That's why they're picking and choosing the countries that these people are coming from. So it's a political thing. 100%. But the fact that you're going to make a fucking person breaking a fucking law 4 times wealthier than the average American. But you want to bitch about how the black community is being put so far down, and you don't want to do anything to directly help them. Why not invest that $1 billion into that? Right? I'm no need to be logical here.
Yeah.
We have American citizens that are very needy.
Yeah.
And I'm not for welfare programs or redistributing wealth, but I am far more for doing it for an American citizen than a fucking person breaking the law.
Correct.
You come in the right way. I'm for immigration.
100%. If you come across the border and you do the paperwork, you go through the vetting process, and you come across the right way, I 100% agree they should get citizenship Social Security, everything that we have.
And
I agree that they should get every bit of it if they do it the correct way.
And I'm going to go as far as saying this. Let's say Britt, who's from Australia, came to Mexico and crossed the border with this caravan.
Mm-hmm.
They find out she's Australian. She was separated from me. Let's say we had a kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she was separated from that. And she tries to do this lawsuit. They wouldn't grant her the money because she's fucking white and she's Australian. She's not Mexican or from Guatemala or Venezuelan or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So she's maybe more bound to vote conservative, which isn't necessarily true. I'm just saying.
Right.
Like these are the things that aggravates me about this. And we go out of our way to make sure she does things legally.
Mm-hmm.
Out of our way. And so far out of our way that we can't find attorneys to help us because she's Australian. She's not from a Central American country.
Right.
But we still will not do it illegally. We will not. We will not break the law. I don't care if it's got $2 million in it for us. We will not break the fucking law. Because it's against my beliefs. And I'm just not going to do it. So that brings me to the next conversation I want to talk about. And that is, we just said, what else could we do with that $1 billion? Well, they get on Elon Musk lately about how 2% of his wealth could end world hunger.
Mm-hmm.
And Elon Musk says, well, show me a receipt on how I could do that and I'll pay it. The problem, Zach, is that no amount of money is going to end world hunger. Unless you can eat the money and it has nutritional value. The only way money will end world hunger is if we're funding a strong military to go fucking take these countries over and conquer them and get rid of the leadership that's in these countries. That's the only way. Because here's what people don't understand. And Elon Musk understands this because he said it before. He thinks that you just make stuff. Like it just comes up. No, you have to build it.
Right.
You don't just pull stuff out of your ass. You don't just pull food out of your ass.
Right.
All right. You either have to kill it or grow it.
Right.
All right. All food comes from water, something in the ground that was grown, or an animal.
Unless it's made in a lab.
Okay. So what? Beyond Meat? What is that made from? Plants.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
I know. I'm just saying, but you have to grow it. You got to kill it or harvest it.
Yep.
To grow produce, it's a minimum of 70 days. Here's something. So I grew up in a farming family. I've seen the process and what it takes. Okay?
Yeah.
My dad's talked to me about this.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of grew up in the country a little bit. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And I've done a lot of studying on these countries. And you want to know something? No capitalist country has ever had a famine. Socialist countries, there's like 83 million people in socialist countries since the start of the Soviet Union back in like the 1920s or something have died from famine. This is countries like Ethiopia. It's who's socialist. It's countries in South America. It's countries in the Soviet Union has had ungodly amounts of people died. China had the worst famine. It's like almost 100 million people died. They've had 2. But the reason why there's hunger in these countries is not because of a lack of resources. Russia has some of the most natural resources in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And they've owned or conquered countries that they could have farmed and got a lot of food from. When the Soviet Union started in the 1920s, Zach, they went and confiscated most of the grain in the country. It's called collectivization. Okay? So that way they can distribute it on demand.
So they gathered it so they could redistribute it as they saw fit.
Exactly. Based on demand. A lot of this goes back to centralized planning, which is you plan your supply based off of demand stuff. And so North Korea still operates like this. You know where one of the biggest famines are right now? What country? North Korea.
Now?
Most of them are in Ethiopia.
Really?
Also Afghanistan. 22 million people I saw today are at risk of starving in Afghanistan. Now, when we're talking about being hungry, we're talking about malnourishment. We're not talking about you go a day without eating because you're poor, and which sucks too.
Right.
Hunger in famine is like you're at risk of dying or serious health effects. Okay, the people in North Korea are like on average like 4 inches shorter than their South Korean counterparts.
Really?
Because of lack of food.
Wow.
They're all related pretty much, right? They've grown like throughout history, like a lot of them have family in North Korea.
Yeah.
It's the same country, just split in two.
Right.
But yeah, a lot of them because of lack of food. So if you listen to Yeonmi Park, you know who that is?
No, I do not.
So Joe Rogan had Yeonmi Park. She's a North Korean defector. And for those of you listening, you should go listen to Yeonmi Park about North Korea. It is insane. The cannibalism, all kinds of shit. And what it is they grow and they farm food, but the government takes it. They have a thing with rice. It's called patriotic rice. And so the family that growing it,
yeah,
or the company growing it, well, it's not a company, but the people growing it will take. Well, they'll have like so much that they need maybe for their family.
Yeah. The
rest is donated to the government for the good of the people.
Really?
Yes. The Soviet Union did the same thing. This is where socialism starts. This is what people don't fucking understand. All right. To end world hunger, you have to have a capitalist structure. You have to have leadership that allows you to feed people, which is capitalism, a free country.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because you have to have innovation in farming. You can't have bad farming practices. Bad farming practices leads to drought and taking nutrients out of the soil. If you don't know how to farm, you can really fuck shit up.
I agree.
There's a certain way to go about it.
Heck, I've looked into trying to put a small little clover plot in my back there, and I went and talked to the farmers co-op people who run the place. Obviously, really good at farming, and they were like, "Well, you need to send us a soil sample, and we've got to check it because if this and this and this is off, you're not going to grow anything no matter what you put in there." And
it depends what you're growing it for. I mean, if you threw some like clover out, a little bit will grow, maybe. Yeah. But you're not harvesting that. We're talking about for harvesting purposes.
Yeah.
That's why you have crop rotation. You don't just plant corn every year. That's why they'll plant corn, then they'll plant cotton, then they'll plant peanuts. Mm-hmm. There's reasons why. Because some of them will rejuvenate nutrients, right? Some take nutrients. You don't want to erode the soil. Mm-hmm. There's a lot that goes into it. All right? So you have to have that. The other thing, and I told you this before, the reason it has to be a capitalist structure is because it can't be demand-sided. You can't farm based off of, okay, we have 100 million people that need to eat corn. So I'm going to grow 200 million pieces of corn. Okay, that gives 2 pieces of corn for every person, let's say. And I'm just giving an example. You can't do that because there's so many variables, like the weather has to participate.
Right.
You may have a drought. You may not get the crop. You may have a disease. And if it doesn't go through, now you don't have enough. That's why we have orange groves that are 6,000 acres in Florida each, and we're harvesting every tree. And then they take it and they say, okay, well, we'll just put some towards orange juice. We'll put some oranges out, and there's leftovers. Mm-hmm. But that's why we always have food on the shelf here in the United States.
We always make sure we have
because
more.
the farmer here looks at it as, I have 100 acres I can farm and make money off of. Mm-hmm. I'm going to farm it. Whether it fails or not, they can do that. And other farmers are doing the same thing. If this farmer fails, this farmer may not.
Right.
In a different area, right? The government is not telling them what to grow, like they are in these communist and socialist countries. The other problem is that we are becoming more and more dependent on other countries for food.
Are we really? I didn't know that.
We import a lot of food.
Wow.
A lot of vegetables. Yeah, they import a lot of stuff from Mexico. They import a lot of stuff from other countries, yeah.
Really?
Well, the citrus industry in Florida had taken a huge hit when my dad was in mechanical harvesting with citrus greening and canker, which is diseases. Yeah. They think a lot of the citrus greening could have been done by the Chinese. That's a conspiracy theory, but I mean, destroying it because they can't get rid of it. It's like cancer. Uh-huh. And so, but what I'm saying is that you can't do it off of demand. It needs to be supply sided. Mm-hmm. The person growing it needs to say, okay, I want to maximize how much money I can make. I want to have a good crop. And then they need to innovate and focus on, okay, how am I going to make the most and do it right? This year I'm going to plant corn. Next year I'm planting cotton. This year I'm doing this.
Right.
Right. And I'm utilizing the whole field. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I'm doing whatever it takes to maximize it. The United States has some of the best farming. We could feed the world if we needed to. And we, for some reason, are becoming more and more reliant on other countries. If we become food reliant on other countries, we are screwed. That's the worst thing that can ever happen. That's why when you see the supply chain shortages and we don't have food on the shelf sometimes for certain things, it's scary.
Yeah.
We can feed ourselves. Us and maybe Brazil are the only countries in the world that can truly feed our own population. But for some reason, we want to rely on other countries for food, and it's going to kill us. That and oil. If we're not energy dependent, you see what's going on now with oil.
Yep.
Prices are skyrocketing. Inflation takes a toll. We have a dumbass president that does want to get in contact with the Middle East for pride reasons or whatever he said, and drop the oil prices down. Mm-hmm. Well, the only reason he would even need to contact the Middle East is because he doesn't want to do it with our own oil. He even said that. He cuts out the Keystone Pipeline, all that.
So I wondered this, and this may be off topic, but do we know how long our oil reserves would last?
I think for a long time, because we've done a good job of not utilizing a lot of our own oil.
Yeah.
I think that was like a lot of the reasons behind going to the Middle East, maybe, for the oil. Because it was like, why deplete our own oil reserves?
Right.
When we could just use someone else's.
Right.
And if we can control the oil in the Middle East, then we even have a better leverage on all these countries. But we can be oil independent, or we can be energy independent. Absolutely, 100%. But we're not anymore. That's why we have this huge increase in prices for energy, for oil, for gas, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But once we start relying on other countries for food, it's a huge problem, because when these other countries start holding out and we're not farming anymore, it's not a good thing.
I mean, I could agree with that.
People want to say, oh, don't eat red meat. It's bad for killing cows. People don't understand where their food comes from.
Well, and the other thing, too, is that, and this may sound, I don't know, super green or whatever, but if you don't consume livestock like that, they overrun certain areas, and it ends up, one, hurting them.
What's conservation?
Right.
But I think that's a little bit different. But you are right as far as some of these people that are like, oh, don't hunt, don't do this. Let me tell you something. Hunters do more for the environment than any fucking green person has ever done.
Heck yeah.
Conservation, keeping the animal populations healthy, all that stuff. It is extreme. You listen to some hunters about conservation and what they do for the environment and how much they know about the environment. Go listen to Scott Martin talk about Lake Okeechobee and the hazards of Lake Okeechobee and how they screwed that up. How these PETA people screwed it up.
Really?
Well, not just PETA people, I'm just generalizing, but these people, that environmentalists, but what it is it's all the shit from Disney World and the Kissimmee River flows down, all the trash flows down into the lake.
Really?
Yeah. You understand? The Lake Okeechobee was not dammed. It's not like it was a free-flowing lake all the way down to Miami. Like, it was huge.
Yeah.
They dammed it up, okay, so people could go live in Miami. You have the Caloosahatchee River flows in from the west side. You have the Kissimmee River flows in from the east side, and I can't remember what side it is on or not the east side, the north side, and then I can't remember what the river is on the east side that flows out to the Atlantic, okay? But they blocked it from flowing south. Well, you have all this grass in the Lake Okeechobee that water can flow through, and that sand and that grass will filter out the water.
Yeah.
But it's not doing that anymore because they've stopped all that. That's why you have a lot of the toxins. But
that's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So there's ways they're trying to solve that now. But a lot of this stuff they're doing, like we've drained land in the Everglades so that people could live. And it's people that have destroyed a lot of it.
And the Everglades is a huge ecosystem.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, huge.
Massive.
Ecosystem.
It's a huge swamp.
Right.
And it does a lot of good.
Yeah.
But people want to live down there. And we're all guilty because I'm from there. But it is what it is. But let's go back to the world hunger thing. Kim Jong-un needs his people to starve because he needs them to rely on the government. Ethiopia, and what's funny, so I read a CNN article that talked about this just now. And it quotes that the reason why they're experiencing hunger Okay, so we have $6 billion to help 42 million people that are literally going to die if we don't reach them. It's not complicated. This is a direct quote from someone in the article. Then it says, in Ethiopia, the WFP estimates that 5.2 million people are in urgent need of food assistance in the Tigray region, where Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has led a major offensive against the Tigray People's Liberation Front since last year. Thousands of people have been killed since then, while more than 2 million people have been displaced. Then I saw something else, and they talked about the reason being was because of COVID and climate change. COVID has been going on for years. These people have been starving for a long fucking time in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Before they even started talking about climate change.
Yeah.
Climate change isn't the reason why they're starving. They're starving because they have dumbass leadership that takes the food. Because they can't get food in there. Like I said, if you want to solve world hunger, you have to go and fucking kill all these people, the Kim Jong-uns and these dumbass leaders in Africa, and implement a capitalist government that supports farmers and good farming practices and grow their own food. You can't just give food to people for a year because they're going to start starving again.
Yeah.
It's like give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day.
Teach him how to fish.
Teach him how to fish, he eats for a lifetime. And teach him how to efficiently fish and do it the right way. So, just to recap on all this, the only way that you will solve world hunger is either, or solve world hunger with money, is being able to eat the money, or by eliminating all the leadership in the countries that are experiencing these famines, conquer it, implement a capitalist society that focuses on supply side for the food and offering a supply of food not based off of demand, okay? Implementing good farming practices with innovation and incentives for people to work, and not allowing any leader to come in and withhold food. Because the countries experiencing these famines, Zach, are the Ethiopia's socialist country, the North Korea, so it's a communist country. All of them have something in common. They have conflict, or they have a leader that is a totalitarian leader that is withholding food. They're starving the people because they can control the people when they're starving.
Right, because the people need them at that point.
You have to have food to survive.
Correct.
And you can't fight without food.
Nope.
You can't think without food. You can't do nothing. Go listen to Yomni Park. I think everyone should that's listening to this podcast. She talks about it. She knows. See, we take things for granted because we see how much food we waste and all that stuff here. And oh, it's on the shelves. People don't realize that during COVID, the farmers never stopped working.
Right. They were essential.
My dad went to work every single day, 6 days a week. They never stopped working because they provided food for this country. And when we start eliminating farmers and we start taking away from them, we start taxing them more. We want to tax their fucking farms for unrealized capital gains. And it destroys family farms. And then we start relying on China and Brazil and all these other countries for food. We are screwed. Mm-hmm. And when Joe Biden starts talking about some of these policies he wants to implement, this is the road we're going down. And half of the country does not seem to understand this. And it's sad because it's sad. It's going to... Food is the one reason why... The first primary reason why we're able to be so advanced. Food and freedom of thought. And then the Second Amendment. What do armies do? What did the Union Army do to the Confederate Army? They took over ports, right?
Cut off their
supply chain, starved them out.
Yep.
Why do you think during Reconstruction era, after the Civil War, why did the South take so long to rebuild? Because they're basically being punished for seceding from the Union, and there was no food. People were starving. There was nothing. Mm-hmm. They had to bring in deer, white-tailed deer, Zach. A lot of the white-tailed deer in the South came from other places that they brought in to replenish the population.
Really?
Yeah, you didn't know it?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's why you have breeds from like Virginia and Wisconsin and all that stuff. Yeah,
that's wild.
That's why you have deer that have different rut times and stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
No cattle, nothing. They were taking cattle from people because they needed food.
Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
They needed supply to make bullets, to make clothes.
Mm-hmm.
It gets cold in Tennessee in the wintertime to fight.
Yes, it does.
So
yes, it does.
So there's a lot of stuff that and you had industrialization up north, and some of those northern countries were good farming countries, right? But they were able to keep up with supply, and that's how it works.
Interesting.
And, yeah. So, people don't want to talk about this. That brings me to the next thing when we're talking about this capitalist country is talking about another person that supports communism in this country. A Castro lover, the old CK himself, Colin Kaepernick. And I told Zach before the podcast, if you haven't gone and watched his special on Netflix, you need to go watch it. I don't care if he makes $20 million off of everyone going and watching it. Everyone needs to go watch it because when you do, you'll realize the fucking fraud that he is. He's a fraud. First of all, the first scene, for those of you that don't know, is Colin Kaepernick talking about the combine, the NFL combine, about how they make you go run your 40, do the vertical jump, bench press. They're taking your measurements, they're measuring your hands, they're making you take your shirt off, taking pictures of you and nothing, making sure you have the right body type, putting you through physicals, making sure your health is good. Mm-hmm. And then he literally switches it to people that are on the football field walking, and all of a sudden they turn into slaves going up on a stage and doing a slave auction back in the 1860s.
That's so dumb.
1850s. So he compares the NFL Combine to the American slave trade back in the 1800s.
That's ridiculous.
Are you fucking stupid?
That is ridiculous. On all levels, that's ridiculous.
While the NFL Combine may be invasive, we've all seen the picture of Tom Brady, with his shirt off, and they make fun of him because he looks like nothing special,
skinny.
Right?
Right.
No muscle and stuff. So they do that stuff. But they do it because they're making a multi-million-dollar investment into your pocket directly.
Right.
And if they screw up a draft pick, not only does it wreck the franchise and a lot of money in the economy for that city because your team's not good, but other people on the team. Uh-huh. How many receiver? Think about it. If a quarterback gets drafted and he's going 3 and out every play, the defense is playing a lot, right?
Right.
Defensive guy on the line who's making a lot of money gets hurt because he's tired in the game. Mm-hmm. Now his season's over with. Maybe he never plays again. It all comes together, right? It's all a cycle. It's all connected. Reasons. If maybe a quarterback that's good, that's throwing the ball to a receiver, that receiver has a good year, and maybe he makes a lot of money now. He gets signed for a lot of money. You understand? The NFL also has salary caps. They can only allocate so much money to each player.
Right.
So, they're wanting to make sure, well, are you worth the investment? They are analyzing the risk.
Well, and the first thing that comes to my mind is how are you going to compare the NFL Combine to the slave trade? Those guys were being sold
against their will, life or death situation.
Correct. And they weren't making money.
Forced to work for free, for nothing.
You have the option. You don't have to go. You have the option, and it doesn't hurt you if you don't go. If you're a good player, it doesn't hurt you. You have the option to go to the Combine, to participate in the Combine, to do all that stuff. It's your personal
you don't
choice.
even have to go if you're good
Correct.
enough.
It's your personal choice. You say, hey, I'm going to go do this because I think it's going to help me make $1 million more.
You could just not play football.
Right. But mind you, I said make, not like you're being sold for $1 million. You're making $1 million.
Yes. Here's the thing. You're taking on a life that may seem kind of fucked up when you look at, he just traded you and you got to go play in this other city for the next day and move everything. God forbid you do it for $20 million. And not everyone's making that much money. Some make $400,000 a year, the league minimum.
Oh, okay? Sorry. Okay, 400 grand.
Yeah, fucking I would love to
play a game.
But we're talking about the NFL Combine. Not everyone's invited to the NFL Combine.
Right.
Only the best of the best are.
Right.
You had to be invited.
Right.
Okay. You could have just done your pro day.
Could have. Yeah, 100%. 100% could have done your pro day.
Here's my problem with Colin Kaepernick. So we had that. Okay. The slave trade in the United States was terrible. People were being sold against their will, separated from the families, forced to work for free, overworked for free. Right. Okay. But in the NFL, you're choosing to do that. You don't have to play football. Quit. Go play baseball. He could have played baseball.
Well, the other thing, you're not overworked in the NFL.
Well, you can be. I mean, they work a lot. Those coaches work a lot. But you're choosing to do that. Even if it doesn't matter if you work 20 hours a day, you are choosing to take that job.
Yep.
Calvin Ridley is a good example because he's stepping away. He's not injured. He wants to focus on his mental health. He's choosing to step away. If he was a slave, they would force him to do that. Yep. They would force him to be there and play. How many guys choose not to play because they're hurt? A lot of them choose to play because they are, even when they are hurt. There's a lot of decisions. Guys choose when to retire. And here's the other thing. It's not only fucking black people at the combine, dumbass.
No, it's not.
It's white people. It's Asian people. It's everyone. Everyone that is good enough to play. I would give my left nut to go and have the talent to go play in the NFL.
Oh, man, that'd be so awesome.
I mean, and I played football. I played Division I college football, and I would give up a lot.
Yep.
Because let me tell you something. It's not just a multi-million-dollar investment going in your pocket. If you make it, you're talking about generational wealth. You are making your family set for the fucking 3-4 generations. They're set.
Right.
No one in your family has to work again.
That's right. And
here's the other thing. Colin Kaepernick sued the NFL for supposedly being racist and keeping him out of the NFL, and has a settlement. Makes millions of dollars from the settlement. And he now, and in this series, he is literally making the most racist comments, talking about how these racist whites run the NFL, and if you're not doing it the right way, which is the white way, blah, blah, blah. If that's think about it, racism is supposed to be against everything he's about. But he's begging them to give him a chance and go play in the NFL again. Why the fuck would you want to go work for them if they're so racist? Why?
Because he wants the money.
It's all about the money.
He knows where the money is. He got money once from them.
Colin Kaepernick grew up way better than both of us. His dad bought him a car for making varsity as a sophomore, which isn't fucking very impressive. A lot of people do that.
Do you know what kind of car it was?
I don't know. It didn't show it, but that was the deal they had, right?
Yeah, I'd be interested to know.
He had the best quarterback coach in the area.
I didn't have a kicking coach when I was in school.
I didn't have nothing. I had myself. I had trees I would throw the ball at.
Yeah, I had my dad. He'd help me sometimes.
Yeah. His parents were around to drive him to every baseball tournament on the weekends. Both of his parents. He grew up in a very nice house. Okay, he grew up. He went to 24 college camps. I went to one combine because it was free and my coach took me.
I think I went to one. I think that's all I did. I think I only had the opportunity to go to one. But
the thing is that the opportunities, he was handed a silver spoon for these opportunities. He wanted to play quarterback. Like I said, I praise him. He is a very hard worker. He's a very dedicated person. You can't take that away from him. Okay, and he's a very good athlete. But his high school stats, you could see why he didn't get recruited. He threw for less than 2,000 yards, and he had negative 29 rushing yards his senior year on 44 attempts. And if you're a freak athlete, a Division I quarterback at 6'5", either you're throwing the shit out of the ball or you're running the shit out of the ball.
Yeah, you're doing something.
And he really didn't do much of either. They were like 8-4, and it like in pitching, the pitchers on my baseball team when we won state had twice the stats that Colin Kaepernick had. So, he literally exposes himself for the fraud that he is. He is not the spokesperson. He should not be the spokesperson for the stuff that he's speaking for, because the average black person in the United States is way worse off than him and actually experiences the stuff that he talks about, but he didn't. He didn't experience anything. In fact, it's almost like he makes up shit in the series to make it seem like he was oppressed against, and he wasn't. Because there was shit that was like, oh, the dad wanted him to cut his hair because it was a distraction, or shave his fucking mustache because it wasn't professional. And it was like, oh, my parents don't understand, blah, blah. I'm like, my parents still fucking ask me when I'm going to shave my face. I'm almost 30 years old.
Yeah. My dad does the same thing.
When are you going to cut your hair? Why is your hair so long? Like, they never let me have that. That's not a black person thing. That's a everyone thing. It depends on how strict your parents are. When Colin Kaepernick was being fucked over when he was playing in the NFL, making millions of dollars, at that same time in history, my parents were losing their house because the market fell out. So what's the thing here? Here's the other thing that aggravates me. In 2018, Colin Kaepernick signed a multi-million-dollar deal, endorsement deal with Nike. This is after he had been cut from the NFL, and he wasn't playing. Signs a multi-million-dollar deal with Nike. Does the commercials and everything. The same year, Allison Felix, who's the most decorated track athlete in the history of the world, was renegotiating a new contract with Nike, and they offered her a 70% pay cut because she was pregnant. And she wanted a clause that said she wasn't going to be penalized in the couple months after her pregnancy for lack of performance. She just wanted like a couple months. She was still going to run. She just, said, hey, I need to get back in shape. Right? But I don't want to be penalized. And they told her to go fuck herself. So she went and started her own thing. Here's the other thing. Allison Felix, since then, has won another gold medal and I think another silver medal.
Really?
Yes. Has added to her collection and been successful after that. Very successful after that. And has started her own brand. Okay? Colin Kaepernick hasn't stepped a fucking foot on a football field. And he's saying, oh, the NFL is so racist. It's run by these racist whites, is what he says. Okay? But he's begging them to go play.
Of course he is, because that's where the money is.
He's begging them. He exposes himself. I'm sorry. This is like a sensitive topic, but I watched it, and I gave him the benefit. I said, I will watch it and see what he's talking about. And he's the most racist motherfucker I've ever listened to. And he, even like it was like no shame. He his parents were some of the most loving people. They did everything they could to support him.
Yeah. And
he made them seem like, yeah, they love me, but they don't understand. They just don't get it. Like, they say things that were racist or they just ignored things that were racist and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, if I was his parents, I'd be pissed about this because they did everything for him.
I mean, from the
very good parents.
Saying, I haven't watched it. And to be honest with you, I have no desire to watch it because I've never liked the guy. I never found him to be a good quarterback. And so I lost a lot of respect for him, but I have no desire to watch this. But you're intriguing me a little bit because he sounds excessively foolish.
It's bad. It's bad. If you want to get rid of racism exists in the United States. No one is denying that.
Agree.
Okay? But if you want to get rid of it, then you being racist yourself, like he is in this film, is not the way to do it. No. I will say this. I'm fine with a show teaching me about the history of, black people and all that stuff and all the stuff they've done. That is fine. And he does a little bit of that, right? But he does it in a way that's like, he doesn't even do justice to the people that he's giving a history lesson on. It's like, because it's all about how bad white people are. And he directly says that too. It's not like he's implying it. No, he's directly saying how bad white people are.
Yeah.
How racist white people are. Right? How blah, 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 blah. But he's living in conditions that is far better than even the average white person.
Right. Well, and from the sound of it, I mean, it's not like he had to fight for it.
He didn't. And I'm not saying he never experienced any kind of racism. He may have. But no, don't start with this white privilege thing when you were given everything.
Yeah.
You got the best quarterback coaching. Your parents sacrificed and drove you to every college camp around because they thought you were good enough to do it. And you worked hard for it. I'm not denying he didn't work hard.
And that's expensive because those college camps, I mean, even smaller ones, they're at a minimum $75 to get into. And
here's the thing is I watched a video back when he was coming out of high school. It was him and then Blaine Gabbert was on the video and then another big recruit that I can't remember the name, but he was a big time recruit in that time period. I'm watching him throw the ball.
Yeah.
They were way out in front of him.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. He doesn't throw the ball very well. He has a good arm. He'll rocket for an arm.
Yeah.
So do these guys, right? But his mechanics are terrible.
Yeah.
It doesn't look natural when he throws the ball. He can hum baseball. He threw 92-mile-an-hour baseball. Right? And he had a bunch of offers playing college baseball.
Yeah.
But he got drafted in the 43rd round. Johnny Manziel got drafted in the 28th round and never really played baseball. After he got out of college, he did it basically as a big, we'll fucking do it, whatever. Yeah. The 827th pick is what Johnny Manziel was, so imagine what it was as at round 43. They don't even go to 43 rounds anymore. So he's really up himself in this series. And like I said, everyone should go watch it. I don't care if you're like, well, I'm not going to give him my money, blah, blah, blah. You should go watch it because I think everyone will look at it and be like, wow, this guy's foolish. Yeah. He's a fraud.
Well, it sounds like he's doing the work.
Well, most people will turn it off as soon as they see literally the first thing he's comparing the combine to the slave trade, because most people are like, shit.
You've got to be kidding me. That is the biggest joke I've ever heard.
That would end Do you know how many people like that ends your family suffering? Like the amount of money you can make in the
100%.
NFL, the opportunity that provides you, the connection. You go play in the NFL, you'll have a job forever, even if you're not playing in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're either that or you're going to sign a big contract and 400. Even if you make league minimum, $450,000 a year. Save most of your money, do it right, invest it. You are set for life.
Mm-hmm.
And it is hard. We're not saying it's not demanding. It's not hard. I'm not saying they don't deserve the money. I think they deserve every bit of it. In fact, I think they should get paid more because they bring in the money.
I don't know if they should get paid more.
Well, they make a lot of money and they help a lot. Like the economy.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. They do bring in a whole lot, but I don't think they need to be paid more.
I mean, it just all depends on the value that you offer.
Yeah, I guess. But the way that I look at it, and again, I've played football for a long time, so for me to say this is something, it's a game.
It's a game, Zach,
game.
But you have to look at it past this. That game provides so much value, not just to the player and the organization, but to the city.
It does.
Okay?
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Do you know what a Super Bowl does when they host it in a city? Do you know what it does for that city?
Probably a lot.
It's crazy, the economic impact it has.
Yeah.
Okay? Having a good football team is ridiculous. A good college football team. Okay? So the value they're creating, not just for themselves, not just for the franchise, but for everyone else in that city, is it's unprecedented. Like no, I don't know what else really compares.
Yeah,
they're bringing in crazy revenue. This is why the WNBA doesn't make that much money, because you had 10 people at their fucking championship parade.
Yeah.
Okay. So they bring in a lot of value. I think I've told you this before, or I said it on another podcast. It's not about how much the work you put in, but the value that you create.
Yep, I agree with that.
Okay, if you're putting in 100 hours a week of work, but you're making the company $100,000 a year, you don't deserve $100,000.
No, because then you're nulling out everything. But by doing that.
But even if the Chiefs aren't winning, like right now, Patrick Mahomes is filling that stadium because people want to watch him play.
Correct.
Travis Kelce or Tyreek Hill. Tom Brady fills the Buccaneer Stadium because people want to watch him play.
That's right. That he does. He may be ancient, but man, oh man.
And he wins.
Yes,
and he makes a lot of people money.
He does.
He makes other guys money because he makes other guys around him be good. Michael Jordan did the same thing. So you have to look at the economic impact around him, the value that they're creating.
Yep.
Whether it's a game or not. So it's just that's how it is, and that's how it should be. Honestly, that's how my opinion. That's how it should be. So that's why we're allowed to innovate here. You have people that go make inventions, Zach, like the iPhone. The value that this iPhone has given, okay, it's second to none, right?
Yep, it's a laptop in your hand.
I can make money from that. That's why these companies make so much money. That's why Elon Musk is worth so much money.
Yep.
Because of the value that he offers in Amazon and all that. But no, people don't want to see that. They want to see, this guy, working at McDonald's works 50-hour shifts. Yeah, he's fucking making people fat, really. He's not making that much money for the company.
Right.
McDonald's is making money overall, but if you break it down per person, it's probably not that much.
Yeah, you're right.
So, go watch the Colin Kaepernick deal. You'll get frustrated watching it. I don't see how anyone could watch it without like saying, "Wow, this guy really." Like, again, we all have our struggles. Black, white, green, yellow, it doesn't matter. We all have our struggles. We all have our issues. No one grows up without some kind of problem. And he basically is that person that's just anyone, you, me, whoever, could make a same show about our life, and it would show the exact same or larger struggle than what Colin Kaepernick had.
I'm probably still not going to go watch it.
I know, I'm just saying. Because I could say, here's me growing up, getting made fun of for my Tourette's. Parents losing the house, blah, 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 whatever. I could do the same layout and make it sound just as bad as his. So I don't want to. No, I don't want to hear it. Because there's people that actually had. There's black people that actually grew up with problems, that were worried about getting shot in their neighborhood every day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that had a single mom, or like there are a lot of people, and they do face racism, and they do face all this shit that he's trying to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And they're, you know, they made it. But he grew up with everything handed to him.
Mm-hmm.
And he even shows it in this film. So maybe there's something he's not talking about that's worse that he experienced, but he should have portrayed it in the film if he's going to do a series.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today, Zach. Again, don't forget, if you want to support the podcast, you can do that. You can become a patron. There's a link on Podbean. Any donation is appreciated. And if you're on iTunes or Google Podcast, go give us a 5-star rating. Leave a comment, or go on our Facebook page at Real Conservative Talk. Or you can watch this on YouTube as well. Again, just Real Conservative Talk. But we'll be back on tomorrow. Thank you.